Hello, Canada. I am Chiwetelu.
And I am Trevor Dineen. Welcome once again to Now or Never.
Yes, this is the show that dives right in with Canadians who are facing their big now or never moments.
Like, do I quit my job and go travel the world
You
like I've
do
always
it.
wanted to do?
Do it.
Carmen Sandiego
Right?
style?
Or do you just finally go to your boss and say all the things you've been holding back for years?
On Now or Never, you get to be that fly on the wall as we kind of sit back and capture those moments as they're actually unfolding.
And hopefully it'll encourage you to make a change in your own life as well.
And not that we think you need a change, but guess what?
You need a change. Yeah. I've been wanting to say that to you.
I'm glad we were able to tell them.
Oh my goodness. That was my now or never moment. You know what, Trevor, on today's show, you're going to meet 3 people who at first seem like they have nothing in common.
I would like to see more slides, maybe like monkey bars or something. Maybe even a splash pad.
I might have just been that guy that said, remember that time I almost did something really awesome? Remember that time I almost pursued my dream?
So there's days where it feels like, oh yeah, we're just one little thing away from actually making this a real career. And then there's other days where you feel like, what am I doing? Like, I'm 36 years old and I have a 2-year-old and we're doing this movie with $40,000.
Today's episode is exploring what it is to follow a dream, and not just any dream, but a dream that comes with a big price tag. And how do you get the money to make that happen?
And you could be sitting on your couch right now, you could be driving in your car, you could be walking around at a park somewhere, and you might have a dream in the back of your head that you may put on the shelf somewhere.
You might be in the middle of burying that dream right now.
Just digging a hole and just
Stop!
kicking the dirt on top of it.
Yeah.
Stop doing that at this very moment, because we're going to give you a few stories that are going to motivate you, hopefully, to pull that dream out of the dirt, dust it off, clean it up,
Yeah.
and let it kind of grow.
Wow, oh boy, you got a good one going on here.
Well, the very first place I want to take you to today is a speedway that's just kind of on the outskirts of Winnipeg, and I went there to meet Amber Balkin. Now, she's a 24-year-old, just tough as nails race car driver.
Can the boys take a picture with you?
Absolutely, yes.
You have to understand, Amber is an absolute rock star. People were just coming up to her, asking her for her autograph.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome for all women in Canada.
Thank you.
And that's just because a few months earlier, she became the first Canadian woman to do this.
Down the back straightaway for the final time to become the first Canadian-born female driver to win a NASCAR-sanctioned race. Welcome to the history books, Amber Balkin.
Wow. That gives me goosebumps hearing that.
I know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You think of that when you reach the history books, that would be like the pinnacle for somebody.
I'd stop there.
That'd be the end of it.
Yeah.
But to her, that's not even remotely the peak of the mountain yet. And there's such a long road, and it's a hard road to get to where she wants to be. Because NASCAR, it's actually one of the most expensive sports in the entire world.
How much are we talking?
Brace yourself.
Yeah.
$1 million. That's what she needs right
Whoa.
now. $1 million.
Wow.
And that's just to get to the next level, because here's the thing. Everything costs so much money in racing, which I didn't know at all. A single engine's about $100,000. You have to pay your pit crew. You got insurance. It costs tens of thousands of dollars just to get on the track, just to practice, just to drive around.
Has she thought of doing track? You just need shoes, right?
Now here's the thing though. Amber has to convince now complete strangers to help her raise that money, because obviously she doesn't have $1 million just sitting in her back pocket. And we're going to find out a little bit later on how she goes about doing that. But first, I want to tell you, after spending time with Amber and just being around her for a day, you have no doubt just meeting her that she is someone who's going to go places.
Yeah, I think every time I have stepped into a race car, I've kind of been, am I going to be able to handle this speed? Am I going to like it? Am I going to be afraid of it? And every single time I've been like, oh, this is awesome. I've never been afraid of the speed. Even the one particular moment to where it really stood out was I tested an ARCA car at Daytona International Raceway, which is...
Oh, what?
An ARCA, it's like a NASCAR. Yeah, a NASCAR car at Daytona International Raceway, which is one of the biggest racetracks in the NASCAR circuit. And I went over 200 miles an hour, so about 300 kilometers an hour. And I didn't know if I was gonna be afraid of that speed, and I wasn't at all. I thought it was great. So but right before I went out there, I said, all right, like, what do I do? And they said, just put it to the floor and don't lift. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And I went out there and I didn't lift. And actually, when I came in, my right glute was hurting because I was trying to mash the throttle down to go faster, and I couldn't get any more out of it.
I love this really sweet voice talking about mashing down on the throttle. She sounds like a badass.
She really is, though. Like, when you meet her, it's amazing. You can just see when you talk to her that drive, that determination. And the funny thing is, she remembers her exact now or never moment.
I just figured that being a NASCAR driver was not realistic, basically. Being from Canada, not having money backing me, being female, none of it really made sense to be a NASCAR driver. And so I went to University of Manitoba, and I was about a month in, and I was sitting in class, and I just had the aha moment. I really did. And I just kind of started asking myself, Amber, why are you here right now? Like, do you want to be here? No. Well, what do you want to be doing? I want to be in a race car. Then why aren't you doing it? You have one life to live. You need to do what makes you happy. And so that's when I went home and sat my parents down and told them I was dropping out of university and going to try and become a NASCAR driver.
How does that conversation go?
They were a little bit shocked, but they just reassured me that it would be extremely difficult to do. But even if I have some obstacles to overcome, I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to try and make my dream come true.
Now, you have to understand, Amber comes from a racing family. Her dad, he's been a competitive dirt track racer for the last 30 years. So you can kind of say that racing is in her blood. But even her dad is in awe of Amber's drive.
This was what was left of the completely destroyed car.
Is this one of the ones you flipped?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I flipped this one, but...
I kept this as a memento. We got to hang that in the wall when we get some time.
Yeah, we do.
Her very first flip she had, and it was a nasty one. I was in the infield watching her.
Getting ready to go lightning sprint racing. Here we go. It's up. Amber Walker upside down big time on the front straightaway.
And she clipped tires with somebody and just end over end barrel rolled it, like flipped multiple times, completely destroyed the car.
You're laughing. He's talking about you flipping and rolling around multiple times, and you're giggling over here.
That's because I know what he's going to say next, because I remember this.
So she landed on her wheels, meaning she landed on the frame because all the wheels and everything were gone off the thing, okay? And she strapped in there. I said, Amber, it's Dad. Are you all right? She goes, yeah, hell yeah, I'm okay. Am I okay to keep going? I said, there's no 7 days of Sunday. You have nothing here to keep going with. Get out of the car. Are you sure? She said. I said, yes. And then she realized the car was destroyed, but she thought she could flip and destroy the car and hit the starter button and keep going.
Yeah, I said, I wrecked the car. I'm like, all right, so is the car good enough to keep going? Like, can I keep racing? Can I keep going? And they're like, no, Amber, your car's destroyed. And so most people are going to be like,
I'm going to speak for most people. That's insane.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you do that. I really don't get how someone can flip over that many times and still just have this desire to keep moving and driving. Did it make you at all think of your own mortality in a race car?
No, I never think of that in racing. I just think of winning. Going out, I want to go out there and try to win. As bad as it sounds, if I do die in a race car, I couldn't imagine dying any other way. I think that I would go out doing what I love.
We're standing beside this car that's been kind of torn apart. It's being worked on right now. I see a car that's kind of in the midst of, construction. What do you see when you look at this car?
I see just a fast machine that you're going to want to try and put in the winner's circle. I hug my car every time I see it because that's what makes me happy, being in that race car. There's no other feeling like it. And I joke with my crew chief because my crew chief used to call the race car a her, and I said, no, that's a him. I said, that's my boy. That's my man right there. It's a him because, well, I don't have any men in my life, and race cars have always been the love of my life. And the coolest thing about racing is you're not paying attention to anything else that's going on in life. You're not thinking about, work or relationships or money or anything else. All you're thinking about is driving that race car.
Just you and the love of your life going around and around.
Exactly, yeah.
I like the fact that she is so sure of herself with this because she says, I'm not afraid to die in a car. Like, that's how serious this is to her. She's
Wow.
not afraid. Like, to her, that's the best way to go. To me, I think the best way to go is at the ripe old age of 90,
Right.
lying in bed with all of your loved ones around you, just silently passing in your sleep. But
Uh-huh.
everyone's different. Fiery crash.
Yeah.
But no, here's the thing, though. In order to race, though, there's a lot of obstacles and hurdles that are in her way. And the risk to her isn't driving the race car. The risk to her is building a career on this. And in order to build that career, you need cash.
It is so difficult to be able to find the sponsorship to do these races. We can't even practice without having funding. So
You can't even go on a track and just go for a couple of laps around.
no, you need to. That costs money to do. You need to be able to pay to practice. So if there is no funding there, then there's no racing.
So coming up, we're going to find out what Amber's going to be doing in order to convince strangers to actually give her enough money to finance those dreams. That's still to come on Now or Never.
So, Trevor, our next guest is an aspiring filmmaker named Jeremy Larder, and he had a dream. He wanted to make Trailer Park Boys, but for PEI.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I thought that was very cool. And he cobbled together enough money to make a web series called Just Passing Through about a couple of hosers on the island.
Oh, Burnell. You hear that? We are gonna get the horny eye something wicked in this rig.
But we gotta promise that being loaded rich isn't gonna turn us into a couple flashy arseholes, Tear.
We're Prince Edward Islanders, Parnell. We're the nicest, kindest, gentlest, most humblest people in the whole wide world.
Who knew? We're doing it
So the
backwards
series
all
did
these
pretty
years.
well,
4 weeks
and it
of winter.
didn't turn them into a couple of flashy arseholes. And it made Jeremy have even bigger aspirations. He wanted to make a feature-length film.
Nice.
But he needs $50,000 to do it. So he turned to the crowdfunding site Kickstarter.
So for those of you who don't know, Kickstarter, you set a goal and you have people help you reach that goal. Now you do that by setting these incentives, which give people these little rewards for helping out. And if you reach your goal, you get the money. But if you don't, you get nothing.
So Jeremy just wrapped up that campaign. It took a lot of work. And he joins me now from Charlottetown to tell us what he's learned about what it takes to get money from strangers online. So first of all, Jeremy, did you do it? Did you make your goal?
We ended up raising just over $56,000. So we hit the goal with about 2 days left in the campaign, 550 backers.
Wow. And what was one of the most popular incentives for donating?
I think the T-shirts, people love getting T-shirts. And actually stickers. I was surprised. People love stickers. And a lot of guys who work out in the oil patch in Alberta love getting the stickers because they put them on their hard hats.
Oh.
And then we had another T-shirt that was popular. But then the $500 level was the level where you could get a line in the show. So that was a pretty popular level, like for the people who've got the deep pockets. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had people who traveled from BC
Wow.
and Ottawa and Toronto, I think, in season 2, who came down just to say their line in the show.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's pretty, it's a kind of a unique experience. And for me, I'm like, really? You want to pay that much money and you're going to fly to PEI to do this? But yeah, they're big fans.
So what in the second campaign that you did when you were trying to fundraise now for the Pogie Beach movie, what was something that you learned from the first one that you were a little bit more prepared for?
Don't panic.
Yeah?
Yeah. Don't panic and run for the hills when things are looking bad in the middle in the middle of the campaign. We kind of knew what to do. I mean, we knew we wanted to have videos. The videos are very important, and we wanted to have someone who was involved in the show in the videos. So Robbie Moses, who plays Parnell, and I shot some videos in Toronto promoting the campaign. So that was a big thing. And then, kind of just anticipating where you have to be in the campaign to make it, because you kind of have to hit certain goalposts.
What were some of the benchmarks that you had set for yourselves?
I knew if we had 25,000 with 8 days left, then we'd be in okay shape. But then, again, it's like you hit the $25,000 mark, and you're halfway there, and there's a little bit of excitement from the fans, like, oh, they're halfway there, they're going to do this. And then there's the realization that we're only halfway there, and there's only 8 days left. Once it gets to the $40,000 mark or 80% funded, people really want to take the bull by the horns and make it happen themselves.
Because they can feel that they're going to be part of something that will be successful.
Exactly. And then that feeling is really strong, and you can't underestimate that. That's really important. People really want to be a part of something that's going to be successful, and they don't want to be part of something that's going to tank.
How do you plan to fundraise a certain amount because you're talking about creating merchandise and all these kind of things? I'm assuming that takes up some of the money that you fundraise.
Yeah, it does. It takes up probably about 10% of the money that you raise.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a big chunk, and then Kickstarter takes a chunk. So Kickstarter takes 5%, and then the credit card fees are another 3%, and then your rewards are another 5%. So 56,000 quickly becomes about 40,000. The thing that I didn't anticipate was how much work it was going to be to actually fulfill the rewards. So I mean, the job of like doing the Kickstarter for that month is pretty intensive, but then once you actually have to fulfill the rewards, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. My apartment turned into a t-shirt factory. And then we had postcards. So we did postcards that said Bumble F on them, which is like, a very famous village in PEI. So we did those, and I individually wrote a message to each person.
Wow.
And I was kind of hell-bent on doing it, and making it kind of unique to the person. And it took like days. I was like, what am I doing? Yeah, but it was fun. But yeah, so that took a lot of time.
It sounds like there are more than just financial costs. There's also your time, your stress, the carpal tunnel, I assume you get from handwriting all these postcards.
Yeah, there are stresses involved. And, I had just had, my son was born in January of that year,
Wow.
2014. So I had like a 4-month-old baby living in a basement apartment in Toronto. And
Wow.
Yeah, so when we did the Kickstarter, we had, he was 6 months old then. So our apartment was just like a total disaster. And he's just crawling around there. And yeah, and then, trucking my family back and forth from Toronto to PEI, and that causes a certain amount of stress.
Was there any point, just based on the demand on your family, that you thought, this isn't worth that?
Yeah, there are times when, you definitely kind of question it, because we're doing it in such a small scale. So there's days where it feels like, oh yeah, we're just one little thing away from actually making this a real career. And then there's other days where you feel like, what am I doing? Like, I'm 36 years old, and I have a 2-year-old, and we're doing this movie with $40,000.
Yeah.
We're kind of all doing it for the real love of it, and with that hope that we can just keep doing it. And people like it out here, and it's spreading across Canada and the U.S. So, we're gonna keep plugging away.
So if someone is out there listening, wanting to start their own Kickstarter campaign to help fund their dream, what advice would you give them?
I would say you have to be kind of realistic about who's out there and who's going to give you money. Like if you have no track record at all doing film and video and you're launching a film and video campaign, I'd say you have to set a very realistic goal, unless you got relatives with very deep pockets who are going to bail you out when the thing's struggling. We had things in mind. Basically, if this is not looking good, then we might have to make a call to someone and see if they can just give us a little assistance, temporary assistance. Yeah, you kind of have to have that, but you really have to anticipate how much work it's going to be. You can't just launch the campaign and think that things are going to happen on its own, and you have to be creative with the ways that you're going to get it out there. You can't just keep telling people on Facebook, "Hey, I got my campaign going. This doing this, and give me money." Because that gets old really fast, and people start blocking you, and you don't want that.
No.
And you have to offer like real rewards. You can't really cheap out on them, even though they're costing you money. You have to, give people something good for what they're paying for.
Thank you so much for your time. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you and learning about all your creative ways of making money and to continue being creative yourself.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Jeremy Larder is the co-creator of Pogie Beach, a film set in PEI that was funded by Kickstarter that will be coming out next year.
So if you're just tuning in right now, you're listening to Now or Never. I'm Trevor Dineen.
I'm Chiwetelu.
And now we want to hear from you. When's the last time that you had to ask someone for money to fund your dreams, and how did you go about doing that?
I know for me, my parents were generous enough to help fund my dream to go to Santorini.
Really?
To go to a friend's wedding. And I promised them that I'd come back with grandbabies.
Aw, that's so kind of you.
Sure didn't.
Well, email us on nowornever@cbc.ca or go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/cbcnowornever. We'll share your stories and tips with the rest of Canada.
Don't dangle grandchildren.
No.
Your parents.
So earlier in the program, we met Amber Balkin. If you remember, she was the very first Canadian woman to win a NASCAR race. So she's like in the history books. This is a big deal. And she loves driving fast. She whips around tracks going 300 kilometers per hour. And in order to actually even drive on a track, she needs money. And I'm not talking just a little bit of money. I was amazed at how
More
much
than
money.
like a bus pass. Yeah.
Amazingly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but if she wants to keep racing, she needs to go out there and find that money.
It is so difficult to be able to find the sponsorship to do these races. We can't even practice without having funding. So
You can't even go on a track and just go for a couple of laps around?
no, you need to. That costs money to do. You need to be able to pay to practice. So if there is no funding there, then there's no racing. This year I had to come up with 6 figures. Next year, 7 figures. That's it. Extravagant.
7 figures?
7 figures. Over $1 million is what I need for sponsorship next year. So these are extravagant numbers, and to be able to try to get that amount of money to just live out your dream is very, very difficult to do. And 99% of the people in my position have that already. They come from either their parents own a very Walmart or Target or something like that, or it's very rare nowadays to make it in racing just through talent. So to be able to get the finances for this year, and really my whole career has been really difficult.
You mentioned that you had to sit out an entire year back in 2015 because you couldn't get the money together. So how do you go from basically having no money, having to sit out an entire year, nothing's going your way, to suddenly gaining some money, gaining some sponsorship?
I just kept pushing, kept knocking on doors. And then eventually, I think it was 2 weeks before the first race, I got a sponsorship for that one race.
How'd you get that? You're literally going and just knocking on doors.
Calling people, Facebooking people, emailing people. I've literally went to businesses and knocked on their door, all the above. And this sponsorship was just for one race. Is for the first race of the year. It was a business out of Lakeland, Florida, of all places. And he reached out and said, you know what, I really like what you're about. I really like what you stand for. I really like how you represent yourself, and you clearly have won some races as well. So I think it would be really cool to get behind you. And so he sponsored me for the first race. Then second race, he was able to help me come up with more sponsorship for the second race. And then by that time, one of the local papers here did a story on me, and I had a fellow from Winnipeg back me for the rest of the year.
So we thought we'd reach out to this mysterious businessman in Florida. His name's Bill Alcock, and he was the very first person to offer Amber the cash that she needed to keep her dream of racing fully alive. We wanted to know what compels a guy who owns a bar down in Lakeland, Florida, to hand over thousands upon thousands of dollars to an upstart racer in Winnipeg.
Hello.
Hey, Bill, it's Trevor from up in Winnipeg.
How you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good.
So, first off, can you tell us how you even found Amber?
Well, I'm a NASCAR fan, and I've been a Danica fan since she ran open wheel.
She was one of the first female racers?
Yes, Danica Patrick. So she's a bigwig, as far as like female. She's the only female racer right now in NASCAR. So I noticed a post that Amber had put up, basically saying, that she appreciates everything Danica's done for racing, for the females and everything. So I happened to click on Amber's page, and I wasn't even like thinking that I was going to enter into the sponsorship world of NASCAR or whatever, but I just liked everything that I saw that Amber stood for, and that she was trying to get into NASCAR. And believe it or not, I shot her a Facebook message, and 20 minutes later, I got a response from her, and I think we pretty much talked every day since then.
Really?
Yeah. And we started talking about sponsorship, and, and I was amazed at exactly how much it is. And I explained to her that, hey, I'm just a mom and pop sports bar in Florida, and, but I would like to do whatever I can.
How much money was the sponsorship?
For the first race, it was $8,000.
$8,000?
Yes. It's quite expensive, and I didn't know that it was that expensive when I got into it. I thought, if I put up $8,000 or $10,000, that might take care of the first couple of races. But then I found out that it only took care of the first race, and then I said, well, let me see what I can do for the next race. And then I'm the crazy guy that drives 11 hours one way, 800 miles every weekend, to go to her race.
What was it about Amber? Like, what's one thing that stood out, whether it be from her pitch or just her Facebook page, that made you decide, you know what, I'm okay with this risk?
Her thing is, when you talk to her, you see her passion, and it kind of like just draws you in, and you just get the sense that this isn't just a hobby to her. This is a life goal of hers. I talked to plenty of other people that want money for whatever the heck they want money for. You just know that this is a life goal of hers, that I just wanted to be a part of her dream and wanted to help her achieve it.
How does it feel when you see her start getting things like first place finishes in a NASCAR event?
It made me cry. I'm kind of an emotional guy anyway, but to see the work that she put in from the very first race throughout the year, and like I said, we talk pretty much every day. As a matter of fact, we're talking right now, and she's texting me. So to see the work that she did, and then to hear her cross the finish line, to hear that made every dollar, every mile I drove, it just made it all worth it.
Do you get any of that money back at any point in time?
Is there anything for me now other than the joy of watching somebody succeed? No. Monetarily? No. There's not. Will there be in the future? Who knows? But that's not even why I do it. I'm doing it for her.
Do you ever hear from people? Is there anyone that ever says to you, or makes comments about, a man from down in Florida who goes and finds and sponsors a young girl from up in Canada? Does anyone ever make any kind of rude remarks or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. Of course they do, and I just shut them down and tell them to shut up.
Yeah.
And not as nicely as I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
People are what they are, and they think there's ulterior motives or whatever. I mean, Amber's like my daughter, she really is. I have her back, and I don't let people make rude comments behind her back, and I damn sure wouldn't let people make rude comments in front of her face.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Appreciate you.
Cheers.
I have to say, off the top, and I'm really glad you did ask him about the comments that people make, because even when he was saying, oh, we're texting right now, I think to me, giving money sometimes can just be sort of transactional, and then you end at that point. So part of me is like, why are they still texting back and forth? What are they texting about?
But it is amazing, though, because he mentions people commenting and making these comments because she's a young, beautiful woman. And when I was at the racetrack with her, you watched men turn and look at her all the time as she walked through, because it's a male-dominated sport. And she's aware of this, too. Like when she does photo shoots, she's fully aware that she can turn it on and smile, and she looks great for the camera. But a quote that I read from her, it was really well said. She said, you know what? Looks are great and stuff like that for marketing and doing all that stuff, and that may be what people see when they first see me, but looks aren't going to win me a race. Looks aren't going to get me into the winning circle. You need talent to back that up. So she definitely has that in her corner as well.
Well, she has talent. She also has almost 30,000 Instagram followers.
What?
Yeah. 7,500 Twitter followers. So she's definitely engaging. And I think that's maybe something that people can learn about, how to get money from other people, is not just to be someone who's maybe at a distance, but you may need to interact with people in a meaningful way to have them feel connected and to feel a part of your purpose.
She has not responded to my Facebook request.
Oh, my goodness. Weird, because she responded to mine. We're texting right now.
Can you tell her I say hi? Well, if you want to see Amber, we took a video of her when we were at the track. And it was actually really interesting because she told a great story about how when she was warming up and racing with a bunch of guys, they actually accused her of cheating because, heaven forbid, a woman was able to beat these guys. So, yeah, awful, eh?
I hate it.
Do you get this?
In my general life? Well, I do stand-up comedy, and so I sympathize with her about being a woman in a male-dominated field and feeling like you have to prove yourself. So I loved when I saw her tell this story. I think the video is real great.
Yeah, go to our Facebook page to see it, because you're going to find out how she ends up just being an absolute boss and showing these boys how it's really done. It's at facebook.com/CBC Now or Never.
We figured we needed about $1.2 million to get the project off the ground. At that point, you have no brewmaster, you have no product, you have no brand, you have no building, you have nothing at that time. You just have like the dream that you're asking them to sign on to.
That was Kevin Selch. He's trying to start a new brew pub in Winnipeg, and we're going to find out a little bit later on how you try to convince someone to give you money when you actually have nothing but an idea.
So today we've been hearing from a lot of adults with their adult dreams. What about kids? Do you remember having... I had great dreams when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Great aspirations. Did you have any?
I wouldn't say great. I wanted to be like a Thundercat. How about you?
I think my dreams were all affiliated with feeling like I was an invisible middle child. So all my dreams were about, being seen or heard and not having to wear hand-me-down clothing. Like, I just wanted to be number one, And I think I'm doing it. I'm on national radio.
Nice.
Fulfilling dreams right now. We're doing it. And you know who else is doing it? I know 2 kids who have dreams that are putting both of ours to shame because ours are very selfish, very
selfish.
Inner focused. They have dreams that impact their entire community. 10-year-old Abigail and her 9-year-old brother, Josh Dunbar, they had a big plan.
Hi, would you like to sign our petition to help us build a playground in our neighborhood? Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's all they want, a better playground for their community, which is in the Toronto neighborhood of Jane and Finch. We sent Now or Never correspondent Ziad Mia to find out if there's anything we could do to help. Ziad's the perfect guy for this job because he's helped kickstart a few fundraising campaigns of his own, including Give 30, which has raised $500,000 for food banks across Canada. Ziad, thanks for going out to meet Abigail and Josh. Tell me, what's wrong with their current playground?
Well, Aoife, I'm not a playground expert, but I can tell you, I went there and had a look at it, and if I had to describe it, I'd say it's like a very simple, very basic playground. There's a very short slide, there's a little climbing thing, and that seems to be about it, except for a little swing set. The kids didn't seem too enamored with it.
It's small. After you do it a couple times, it kind of gets boring.
I'm picturing something real sad.
They have some grand ambitions, though, so they want to turn that little playground into something different. And I talked to the kids about what their dreams of the playground, how they'd like to see the playground.
Yeah.
I would like to see more slides, maybe like monkey bars or something, like accessible swings or a wheelchair ramp. Maybe not like gravel, like a soft padded floor, floating bridges. Maybe even a splash pad.
Wow. I love that they're even considering accessibility and making sure that everyone in the community can use this. It seems that they're really taking into account the entire community in terms of their vision and their dreams for this.
Yeah, but something like that certainly costs. And that was, I think, something the kids did not appreciate. What would a playground cost? And what would the projections be on getting it done?
How much does a playground cost?
Well, I asked Abigail and Josh that exact question.
The experts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would think it would cost at least $100.
Abigail, how long do you think it will take for you to get your new playground if it works out?
I'm not sure. Maybe like maybe like 1 month or so, a couple of weeks maybe.
I love that. At the very least $100.
Now, those are very optimistic budget and timeline projections, but they're kids. I mean,
well, even as an adult, I have no concept of how much playgrounds cost.
Exactly. What do you think a playground costs? If you take a guess,
I think I'm going to say like $15,000.
Well, you know what? I would have aimed a little higher, but not as high as what playgrounds can go for. Apparently, $1 million is what you can spend on a playground. And this is not, Donald Trump's playground.
Wow.
And a playground in that part of town recently went up, and it ran around $700,000. So it's in that ballpark of the hundreds of thousands.
And that's a generous amount to be spending on a playground. I know the community of Jane and Finch is specifically one of the neighborhoods in Toronto that have been identified as having a bit higher needs.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of money to begin with, and it's a lot of money for a community that has quite a number of challenges.
So how are they going to come up with the money?
Well, they're tackling it piece by piece. They've started the petition. They've got 1,000 signatures on that petition.
1,000? That's impressive.
That's quite a lot, actually, for kids. And they've written letters to politicians, the Prime Minister, the Premier of Ontario, the Mayor of Toronto, and they've got that ball rolling. Some of the politicians have written back with positive messages, but no one's offered to pay. And the mayor went and visited them.
Did they make him go down the sad slide?
I did ask them that. I don't think he did go down the slide. That would have made a great photo op. He said he'd go back and talk to people and have meetings at City Hall. That was a little bureaucratic. But there's a woman who heard about their story, Carla Grant, who is the executive director of the Toronto Parks and Trees Foundation, and she was inspired to assist them.
I actually found out about Abigail and Josh by being on Twitter one morning this summer. I really felt that they needed the support to help move their project forward by creating a donation page. As a foundation, we offer a charitable receipt, so it's a very good way for people who've been expressing interest and want to support these children in their amazing dream to know that their money is being held safely and for that purpose. So it would only be used for the purpose of building out playground structure in their neighborhood. And hopefully this will turn into a campaign that will see something amazing come for them.
That sounds like such a great partnership. Does it seem overwhelming? Do they seem overwhelmed?
Yeah, and they seem pretty calm about the whole thing.
Wow.
They haven't been deterred.
We have to work at it, and now we know that there's a lot of steps to doing this, but it's always going to be worth it if you try your best and your hardest.
I feel like I need these kids as life coaches.
Well,
they're such great advice.
Well, in talking to the kids, they certainly have a sense of community. They had a sense that they weren't going to do this on their own. They realized you needed to push a little political pressure on the mayor and the premier and the prime minister possibly to get things done.
That's so true.
Now that Carla's put the donate page online, we're going to throw this link up onto our website, and so people can go there.
Has money been raised already?
I think it just has gone up, so it's live now. So if you could be the first.
I will be. I think I will be. My heartstrings have been sufficiently tugged.
And I'll follow your lead.
Okay. Well, this is so great. I'm excited to visit them again when the playground does exist and have them go down their new supersized and accessible, it sounds like, slide and their new space.
Great.
Thank you so much for bringing this story to us.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thanks, Ziad.
Thank you.
I feel so impassioned right now to do something to make these kids' dreams come true. And our show is called
Now or Never.
That is true. So what I decided to do was bring in the big guns. We need someone who can give these kids advice on how to get this done.
The Prime Minister.
Yeah, I tried that.
Okay, not that?
Didn't pick up.
Okay.
Not quite sure.
No big deal.
But I tried the next best thing to the Prime Minister, and that's a professional fundraiser.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Taylor. I'm the President and Chief Fundraising Strategist for the Chiwetelu Group. I've fundraised for 25 years for many universities, national hospitals, and international organizations like the World Wildlife Fund. And now I lead a team of 15 people across the country who are helping charities every day.
So your career is all about advising people how to ask for money. So specifically for Abigail and Josh, and to maybe some of our other listeners who have some big dreams, what are some secrets from the world of fundraising that you think we can use in our everyday lives?
Well, I don't want to start off negative in any way because they have such a beautiful dream, but unfortunately it won't be a few weeks, and unfortunately it wouldn't be $100, and that's a very sad reality that sometimes we do have to let people who have these dreams and the visionaries know that With their great idea and great plan comes a big dollar figure and a lot of time and investment. I wouldn't tell them not to dream, but I would say that we have some planning now that has to happen. I first think you need a champion. Your champion who supports your vision and believes in you. You need somebody who's going to be honest with you about whether or not what you're trying to achieve is needed in your community. These two kids definitely have a dream that's needed in their community, so I think that finding a champion will be relatively easy for them to do. The other thing that's really important is to make sure that you're saying thank you when people are investing with you, that you're tracking their gift. And I think it's important to recognize and thank people for that, and then let them know how their gift has made a difference, what the impact is. And these kids here, they already have the story. It's beautiful. They make me want to open up my checkbook. And I'm sure they're going to call me after the show. It's making sure that you are telling a story, but you're not losing your own voice while you're doing it.
I think it's really interesting how you use the word story in relation to investment and investors. What makes for a good, I guess, investment story?
We actually want the heartstrings, most definitely. You want to make sure that the person can feel a level of empathy and engagement in what you're trying to achieve, and that they can't imagine a world without what you're trying to achieve.
Okay, heavy. Can't imagine a world without this. So with that on your mind, do you remember your first time going out on your own, maybe to try and get some money?
Yes, I do. And it's one that I actually reflect on quite a bit, actually, because it was a very valuable learning experience. I was meeting with people who I knew were far more important than I was. Very corporate. I was very nervous.
What was the result of that situation where you were going out?
It was a 6-figure gift.
Oh,
so
wow.
It did. I was successful. It was more that I actually did, and this is where I learned, I did try to answer beyond my level of expertise and my level of technical knowledge. And I think that was one of my greatest learning experiences, that no one expects me to be an expert on each of the charities that I have represented. I work with the experts, and my job is to facilitate the love between a donor and their work.
Well, they do say with great power comes great responsibility, and I think
I don't have great power, but thank you.
Well, I don't know. I think if I had your fundraising confidence and ability, I might be on a beach somewhere on a group-funded vacation.
And yeah, well, that technically not ethical. So
that's not a good story. Is that not a good story? I could send them postcards after. If Abigail and Josh are listening, what is something that you would like to say to them personally and specifically about their goals?
Well, I would actually tell them to give me a call, because I would love to help them, and I would love to connect them to people that I do know that would share their passion. Please have them call me, and
we will.
I will help them in any way I can.
Great. And your advice to me around crowdfunding my vacation is to stop immediately. It's
no, you can
unethical.
absolutely crowdfund your vacation. I'm not sure how well I'll help you with that one.
Okay. Well, we'll talk offline. Thank you so much, Mary Beth. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we come to the end, there's one more place I want to take you to, and it's to the oldest neighborhood in Winnipeg. And it's got these beautiful old buildings that kind of line the streets. But then there's this one building, it's right on the corner. It looks abandoned, and it's wrapped in this brown paper. The type of brown paper you see when your aunt sends you a parcel in the mail. Now, inside of that building, there's a guy named Kevin Selch who's basically grinning from ear to ear because he sees, amidst all of this chaos, a dream. And that dream is to turn this space into a brew pub.
It's all open concept, so it's really about connecting people to this, like how their beer is made in the manufacturing process. So people are going to be in here, and it's going to be loud sometimes. Motors are going to be going, pumps are going to be going. It's going to be hot in here. It's going to smell like baked bread.
Now this guy is beyond passionate about craft beer. But here's the thing. I love beer as well, but I've never actually decided to open my own craft brewery. So I wanted to know how Kevin got to that point.
I'm not the entrepreneur that like wakes up one day and says, hey, I'm going to do this crazy thing, and then like the next day I'm doing it. I think like there was a lot of thought put into it. I was working the last 10 years in Ottawa as an economist with the federal government. I had a great career there. I got to negotiate trade agreements in Geneva at the World Trade Organization.
Now you're just bragging, all right? Everyone calm down.
But no, I was there and I saw my kind of career path laid out in front of me, and I wanted to try something different. Once I had decided that I would, then that was the moment I started coming back to Winnipeg like every month to find investors, to find a location, to bring all the pieces together. We figured we needed about 1.2 million to get the project off the ground. So you need to have about 30% as private equity to access the other funds from the bank. So about $485,000. Me and my parents came up with 110, and then the investors were in for 375.
So just to recap here, Kevin needed to convince private investors to fork over about $500,000 to him before he could even think about going to a bank to even get a loan. One of the people who decided to invest in Kevin's brewpub is a Winnipeg gastroenterologist named Dana Moffat. Now, we're going to get to him in just a little bit. But first, I had a few extra nosy questions for Kevin. What is the pitch? When you first have to go to Dana and you have to walk into that room and say, hey, Dana, or make the phone call. How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, right? Because at that point, you have a business plan that you've tried to think out the best you can, but you have no brewmaster, you have no product, you have no brand, you have no building, you have nothing at that time. You just have like the dream that you're asking them to sign on to.
Okay, now tell me how you did it, because how do you do that? Like, seriously, you have nothing and you're saying, hey, I need $1.2 million or whatever you can offer. So pretend I'm Dana. You walk into the room, pitch me.
Oh man. I mean, I think the business plan was a big part of it, right? Because like it's not necessarily that you have the best plan in the world, but it's that you have a plan and that you've tried to think through a lot of the issues and different things that could come up.
So now if you're sitting at home wondering, what did that pitch sound like from the other side of the pitch table? Here's the investor, Dana Moffat.
My friend, who's also involved in this project, and I have done some investing in other projects in the city over the last 10 years, and we've entertained a lot of other options for possible investments that we haven't gone with. We met Kevin from a friend of a friend, and so we didn't really know him at all. I knew about Kevin. We went to the same high school, actually, and what struck us, I think, as much as anything, was the level of completeness of his pitch and business plan. I brought up a lot of challenges to his original pitch. He's always got an answer, a well-researched, well-thought-out answer, and our experience has been that you can't fake that. Mm-hmm. And I think most importantly, it's rare to come across someone who's doing this who is all in. And as you sort of were talking to him earlier, he's got a great job in Ottawa, a career, a retirement, a pension, all those kinds of things that, he could have just kept going with, but he was turning those chips in to try something different, mortgaging his house or selling his house. He was all in. If this thing fails, he's got to start over. And that when that's the position somebody's in, they're going to do everything they can to make it work. Mm-hmm. And that is not the situation for a lot of people trying to start businesses. So that's one thing Kevin really had going for him.
So just walking into a meeting and sliding a piece of paper across the counter saying 1.2 million isn't going to get the money?
No, probably not. And I do want to clarify, we did not give Kevin $1.2 million. so
how much are you in for?
About 100.
About 100?
Yeah.
Okay. What are your fears when it comes to all of this? Like, there has to be a fear of, if it does fail.
Oh, of course. These things can fail so completely, and you can lose, the entire investment. So it's a financial fear more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Is it tough now knowing that you have these backers and there's all this money involved in doing this and realizing that, oh my goodness, I have to make this work now?
Oh yeah, that keeps me up at night. I mean, I'm invested in this. My parents have some money in it, and so yeah, of course, it's a huge responsibility to execute it and to make it happen.
Yeah, did people think you were absolutely out of your mind when you were like, I'm going to leave this job with a pension or retirement fund, all this stuff, and go open a production brewery in Winnipeg.
Yeah, like some people were like, wow, like I commend you. That's a huge risk. But everybody's like, yeah, you should do that. Really? People were like supportive, even if they wouldn't have done it for themselves. I think because it's to your point about everybody's dream of doing this, right? Yeah. Like I want to quit my job and open a brewery, and here I was doing it. Sometimes people say, well, that's gutsy, or you're courageous for doing this and putting it all on the line. But it has been fairly incremental, that you kind of inch towards this, and that when you take that final leap, it doesn't feel so crazy anymore, right? And you've kind of made peace with it, so it doesn't feel like you're putting it all on the line on one moment. It's you've taken a journey to get there, and then it's just kind of falling off the cliff.
What advice do you have for people to actually push off that ledge?
Well, I guess our business is kind of unique because you can't really put your toe in the water on this one, right? Like we couldn't start small with like a little sample and see if it grew, right? We really had to make a decision to be all in or out. And so there's lots, I don't really know what I could say. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities when it could have stopped dead, and then I might have just been that guy that said, remember that time I almost did something really awesome? Remember that time I almost like pursued my dream, right? Like, and then wouldn't you rather be, the one that said, oh no, I actually did it, regardless of what happens? I don't know. Sometimes we like think about things like in extremes, like it's going to be this like raving success or this utter failure. But the truth might be that it's just kind of it lands in the middle, and then we figure it out and we make it better. And like maybe that's how it goes. I don't know.
That was Kevin Selch, who's trying to get his Little Brown Jug brewery off the ground in Winnipeg. Now he's planning to start brewing this week, and he hopes to start serving the public before the end of November. You're listening to Now or Never. I'm Trevor Dineen.
I'm Chiwetelu. And you know what I love that he said? Because I connect with this. I'm someone who likes to live in extremes. Like things are either going to crash and burn, or I'm going to be elevated on shoulders. And I love that he said that sometimes the reality is neither of those things. And that's okay, that you just start somewhere and sort of climb your way up. I feel like for the dreamers out there, he kind of talked about a permission to sort of exist in between success and failure.
I also like the fact that a theme throughout this entire program has basically been having a plan A and just being all in on that plan A. I know Amber Balkin, earlier when I spoke to her, she said she doesn't have a plan B because it distracts her from her plan A. And I think that in order to really attain your dream, you have to be able to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not dipping a toe in, I'm not even going to put my foot in. I'm just going to dive right in.
What are you in plan A with right now? Anything? This show?
This show.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, we jumped right in here now. We're hoping everyone else has jumped in with us. Don't just put a toe in.
Yeah.
All right?
And you know what? I feel like if a 9 and a 10-year-old can write the prime minister, have the mayor come and visit them, all for them to have a playground, then it's worth it for all of us to pick up our dreams. Make something happen.
Hello, you've reached the voicemail from Mary Beth Taylor, President and Chief Fundraising Strategist for the Criado Group. Please leave your name and number after the tone, and I'll call you back as soon as possible.
Hi, my name is Abigail Dunbar. And my name is Joshua Dunbar. Hi, Miss Mary Beth. We are so excited to be calling you. We were just wondering if you can help by supporting us doing a playground in our neighborhood that can help all kids, even kids with limitations. Can you please call us back by 647